Fancy intro music, yeah! Woo!
Wiggity wiggity wiggity, welcome back everybody to another Bad Crew video. And today is special because today we're featuring the whales.
We've got to have money.
Hey! Yeah, before we do that real quick, let's preface this video with this because the last thing I need is them complaining to the VIP server and having Scopely chew at me. Why are you making our whales mad? One, remember, these videos are for educational purposes only and definitely do not indicate whether you're a bad player, bad person, good person. But if you're in this video, you're probably a rich person. But all this is simply meant to be educational and fun. Add a little levity to the game that sometimes can be a little bit too serious.
It's gonna take me one solid kick to your and I'm done with you, okay?
And we're also going to take a note at the crews, why they are the way they are, how they could be better. And in general, hey, sometimes they're just mistakes. There's a couple in here that are just oopsies. Shouldn't have done that. And that's no big deal. So we're going to fly through some of these. We got 5 big ones I want to go with of you. And let's start with a Northcutt video. Well, Northcutt picture. Now you've got a Northcutt here running Tasha, Pan, Picard. Oh boy, we starting off strong. Now, the Kelvin still loses in this one, so let's not pretend like being a whale doesn't have its advantages. Ching. But in terms of actual crew viability, this is not a good crew. And if this ship was to go against a counterpart of similar strength, which we'll see some even stronger ships in this video, it would quickly fall and not have success. Let's talk about Tasha Yar in the very beginning. Now, Tasha does work, so it's not that Tasha doesn't, but increases all weapons damage against non-player targets by 20%. Now, here's the key. Non-player targets. That Kelvin's a player, y'all. That Kelvin's a player. That's a player. So, Tasha not working here, but Tasha does work. And a lot of people have asked, well, is she a replacement for like Chen, Talon? No, but she does work, just not here. Let's move on to the next one where we've got Picard, which I love Picard, and I'm saying it specifically like that for reasons. Engage increases the critical damage against hostiles and armadas by 5%. Once again, that's a player. So no good there. And even if we were making the argument that maybe this particular player had loaded out because they wanted to go do armadas. Okay, fair enough. But then it raises the question of who's captain. Why is Pan captain here? Because you have the getting up to speed, which is an impulse speed boost, which is purely for PvP. Nobody takes these out to armadas. You do these in like territory, or if you're OPC hunting, or if you're just trying to, if you're at war with an alliance, you're trying to really give them a bad day. That's what you would run. And then mistakes were made at the start of each round. Pan has a 35% chance of applying hull breach to your own ship. None of that would be viable for an armada run. So it's very, very curious to see it here. And once again, we're not trying to shame the person who has the Northcutt, just that these crews do not work for the ship, and it won based on pure power alone. But if it was to go against a counterpart of similar strength or even near the strength, I mean, if the Kelvin instead was a Hegta, well, you would probably see a very, very different result. But that's the first one we're starting off with, and we start off with a bang, and we love to do it. So let's start with another one here and move on to number 2, and that is going to be another Kelvin, but this time taking down a Pilum. Now, I told you some of these can be mistakes, and that's okay. Mistakes happen. And this particular log is one of those examples where the Pilum had meant to be running Lorca, Killy, and then running the traditional set on the offside. And what they had been doing before was hostile grinding, and it tried to mix the crews and just messed them up. So I did get that clarification. I think it's important to add that context that this Pilum owner, in this particular instance, just oopsied. But Lorca as captain is very, very common. We talk about Lorca being a great officer when it comes to the Lorca Killy combo, which is going to have the mitigation bonuses as well as the damage bonus plus hull breach. Now, real quick review time. Let's bring up Lorca if we can find where he is, because I always struggle to refine Lorca. Discovery crew, where you at, fam? Right here. So Lorca as a captain. Keep in mind, if he had Killy here, there's a synergy bonus, but reducing the opponent's damage by 100% when there is a hull breach, and as you would probably assume, officer ability creates the hull breach. So good chance for you to be doing a slight damage reduction. Plus, if you had Killy there, you get the mitigation boost, the cumulative growth that Killy can provide. But instead, we had Ash Tyler. The reason Ash Tyler does not work here, well, we can pull up here by bringing up Ash Tyler, if I can remember where he is, because we have 150 officers and it's hard to find him. At the start of each round, if the opponent is burning, so Lorca creates hull breach, not burning. So in this instance, there's no use for Ash Tyler at all. Simply does not work in this particular setup. So the issue that you're going to run into is, well, you don't even turn on. He's just there. He's just chilling, prop up his feet, sitting in the chair. And of course, we know Moreau is an anti-hostile officer trying to raise your mitigation, but not really any effective here in a PvP batch, which is where you see Yuki, Marcus, Kang, which is a 15% shield gen strip, then the 500% damage boost against Romulans with Yuki's officer ability, and then Kang for the mitigation. The Kelvin's able to easily take down the Pilum, even though normally the Pilum would wipe the floor with any Kelvin. This is the importance of crews and why it is so important for you to get those right. Number 3 on this video today, we're taking a look at, oh my gosh, one of the biggest. For those of you who have been asking me, are there level 60 ships in the game? Yep, here's one. And my good friend Tim here sent this one to me, and he and I both thought that Sky would get a kick out of it. So shout out to you, Sky. You'll catch the reference to this when you see this video. But here we have got a Rotarran. Yes, the Rotarran, as in the massive level 60 Klingon ship, the Burrell that we all grew up with. If you were a Star Trek fan, 200 million power, not only losing, but losing handily to the Kuaf Sampek, another Klingon. So Klingon on Klingon violence going right out here. But, 40 million power difference, you would think the Rotarran would do better. But there's a few different things that are questionable in here in terms of how the crew is loaded out. Now, I respect the desire to go after the new officers. We talked about the mitigation effects that Galron and Martok can provide. And assuming these are both maxed, then you're getting, that 1400% of increase to dodge, which would automatically improve your dodge ability here for the Rotarran. Then you've got Martok, sorry, wrong way. You got Galron with Wartime Chancellor going to increase the shield deflection. So once again, trying to boost your mitigation stats. Now, because Martok is captain, you're also going to get an increase to kinetic weapons. But we'll go over firing patterns and things for the level 60 ships at a later date, because honestly, this is not what I would crew on that ship, but this is how it works. Now, the other issue is we're running TOS Kirk as a sidecar here. So we're really just in a very curious state of what's the plan, what is your objective? And you have to look at this anytime you come into especially PvP fight. What am I trying to create? Because here, creating morale. So the background ability of morale is it creates a very, very small bonus to piercing stats of your ship. So essentially what you have here, and this is it, is the Rotarran has a very small piercing buff because of morale. Then you've got 2 mitigation officers trying to boost your mitigation. Now, here's why it doesn't end up mattering at all. Because the Sampek is coming with Lorca, Hull Breach, Honor Guard Worf, Criticals plus Hull Breach. So we've got a pure damage loadout here. And then a maxed out Kang, who, even if he can't overcome a maxed out Martok Galron, and I don't even know if these are maxed, to be completely honest with you. I should have got that little I button to get hit so we could take a look at the stats. But going by how bad the loss was for the Rotarran, I venture to say that mitigation wasn't even where it needed to be. So Kang was able to still be effective. But the big key was you created extra damage with those shots. And you look at the hull health there, the 81 million for the Sampek. So you got a lot of hull up here. You need that extra damage, and mitigation's great. We talk about how mitigation is probably the most important factor to look at, but you've also got to be able to do more. And things like this TOS Kirk isn't really helping you out any here, and that ends up being a drawback, ends up being one of the reasons Rotarran goes down so easily, even though it is a level 60 ship. And yeah, that one's just a big surprising. But hey, not the only level 60 ship in this video. There's another, maybe. Stay tuned. Next video, or next crew we're gonna look at is we're taking a look at a Corvus that is running Kirk, Spock, Charbonnet. Now, in general, this is not a bad loadout. We've got a Corvus versus a Vorcha. Now, the Vorcha wins handily, and I'd like to explain to you why. And we can talk about some of the tactics here in this video, or in another video. But you see Yuki Marcus, which is a fantastic combination. If you have a Vorcha and you're trying to take down a Corvus, Yuki Marcus should be an immediate go-to. It's one of the best combinations in the game because you're getting a 15% shield strip, plus you're getting the penetration stat boost of Marcus. So you're probably going to have low mitigation on that Corvus, plus you're taking the shields away. The great thing about Yuki compared to something like a Vimit is it's just a flat 10 or 15%. 10 by herself, 15% with synergy. So you're just getting a full, it doesn't matter if you've got 100 million shields or 1 million shields, 15% getting taken out with this combo. And then Honor Guard Wharf to give you criticals for more damage. We want to hit the criticals so we can get that big bonus. Now here's the problem over on the other side of the map. We've got Kirk, Spock, Sharvanek. Now Sharvanek obviously is fine for going against a Vorcha. You're wanting to overcome that natural high armor of a Vorcha, so you're wanting to lower their mitigation with Shar. Makes complete sense. But here's the issue. Kirk Spock is such a very common and good PvP loadout in the 20s and even 30s, but it loses its effectiveness in the 40s, 50s, and beyond. And I really want to just point out why with an example of the previous screenshot real quick. If you remember that Sompeg, remember how it had taken damage and still had 74 million shields? Basically had around 100 million shields as a rare ship. Even if the ones we're talking about here only have 30 million, 40 million shields. Let's take a look at what Spock's ability can do. Remember, he regenerates based on the numbers of the stats to defense, and then he puts that back into the shields. So if he had max morale, like Bones as captain, Kirk Spock, which is 1,000%, you would still need, 100,000 stats to basically be keeping your shields where they need to be. Does that make sense? So if you had 100,000 and you were to add a little bit more, let's just say, I honestly don't even have to go to 100,000. Maybe if we just started with 50,000. Your ability to regen the amount of damage that's being taken is basically insignificant. You're not able to overcome once around with a shield regen the amount that you're taking to your ship. It's simply too much for you. And you would need hundreds of thousands of defense stats for Spock to be able to carry your ship into this battle and have success. And you can very clearly see the Corvus loses its shields, and it loses its shields rather quickly, not only from the damage of the Vorcha with Honor Guard Wharf and everything else, but simply because that regeneration is not giving you much. It is depleting immediately in a sense that only works once around. You just got completely outclassed here. And even though you were a much significantly higher ship in terms of power, because the Corvus apparently has better research on that account, you still had the Vorcha ended up being successful. Now the last one we're gonna look at for the whales bad crew video. Woof. This is bad. This might be the worst one because the last one was Kirk Spock Sharvanek. At least Sharvanek made a little bit of sense. Now it's Carol Marcus. Oh gosh. Yikes. So this is an Enterprise D, one of the first ones in the game. Beautiful ship. But the same thing that we just talked about with the Corvus is even more true for the Enterprise. Look, 150 million shields. Now, obviously the Kelvin didn't hit it because the Kelvin would have had no chance anyway. But the point of that is look at the actual power of the ship. Look at the numbers that you would have to regenerate. Does anybody want to do a quick math lesson of how much stats you would need for Spock to regenerate anywhere close to 150 million? And not even a flat. What he would need to do, 5 million, 6 million? Because that's what these big G5 ships can do. They can come in and hit you for 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. million a pop. And unless you can regenerate that amount in a round, it's completely useless to run Spock. And that's what we have here. There's no advantage to running Kirk Spock on a G4 or higher ship, in my opinion, with the exception of maybe a low-end jelly when you're like at level 39. But when you get to the 40s, it's more about damage creation, mitigation, damage creation, mitigation, not shield regen, simply because you can't build enough. Now, if there ever came an officer that works like Yuki is a flat shield strip and we had a flat shield regeneration, then that would be a very different argument. But we don't have that in the game. All we have is Yuki to take away, and then we have Spock and Vimit who use stats to either take away or grow. So as of now, there's really no point in shield regeneration, especially when you're up here in 5-star whale land. And some of these concepts are important for you to know as a lower level as well, because if you are sitting in that same situation where you've got Spock, but you're sitting on, a maxed out Enterprise or Augur, do you really need to run morale? Probably not. Probably something better, more advantageous to your PvP that you could find success with. And I do want to bring up Carol real quick because she's actually weaker than she was before, because at one point, and we'll put her on the screen, this weapons damage you see mine at tier 4 is a 35%. At one point, it was actually doubled. There's actually a ×2 here that happened in a fight. So it was actually 70%. They ended up fixing that bug, and several officers that were double naturally in the battle no longer do. So now she's even weaker than she was before. But even if she was what she was then, 70% damage boost is really not that much, especially when you talk about these whales having well over 1,000% in buffs between research and officer bonuses and all this other stuff. So there you have it. There are some amazing whale edition crews in the Bad Crew video. And just to remind, these are not bad players, simply sometimes bad situations. You just get caught with your pants down with weird crews on your ships. But I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, I ask you to do a couple things. One, like the video. Looks like this. A little thumbs up. Please you hit subscribe, follow, and please, please, please share this out with your friends, family, and everybody else who plays the game. I'm sure everybody will get a kick out of seeing the whales have some silly crews. And like I said, it happens sometimes. I've gotten caught with my pants down too, believe it or not. Context, phrasing, I don't know. Also, if you have any comments or questions about some of these crews, why they work or what could be done better, comment section down below. There's a little bar. All you gotta do is enter in your comment and there it goes. And then we can come back and respond to that at a later date. And of course, join the Discord if you haven't already. I really enjoy these videos. I want to thank everybody who sends in screenshots to make these happen every single month. Y'all are incredible and can't wait to see what we got the next arc for you. Been dropping enough hints, so there's no hint in this video. And that's not a, like, it's not a distraction. There's literally not a hint. And this video doesn't have one. So I'm gonna wrap up now. Bye, deuces.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.